All right, we are live. Hi, everybody. My name is Dr. Chris, and I am here with my friend, Dr. Megan James. We are both sports and orthopedic physical therapists, and I also am a women's health physical therapist. And we are both super passionate about helping moms better understand the unique needs of their body and recovering postpartum. And Megan and I are both very avid runners and love supporting our mama runners specifically. And so we wanted to jump on today to kind of discuss a little bit about how the importance of strength training for our overall health and also especially for our running activities, but also that kind of to debunk this myth that strength training needs to be, a ton of time in your week and in order for it to be effective. And we kind of want to be like, heck no, doesn't need to be that way, and share some helpful tips and creative ways that you can be active at home or in whatever environment you're in for your strength training. I know COVID right now, people are in all different places. Some gyms are open, some aren't, some are still staying home. So whatever workout environment you enjoy, but kind of giving you guys some tips that we recommend with our patients, and also having Megan share her own personal journey of what it has been like kind of pre-mom life when she was working out and training, and now what mom life looks like with her little one and still incorporating that strength training and workout. So thanks everybody for joining us today, and let's dive in. So Megan, if you want to kick us off, thanks so much for being willing to share your story. For those of you who don't know both of us personally, I support a lot of mamas, but I am not physically a mama myself yet. I am a mama ally, as I like to say. And Megan is definitely a mama ally and a mama herself. So Megan, if you want to jump in and share what your journey has been like through this process.
Yeah, so I know we talked about this a little bit the last time we did it, but that was, oh my gosh, it feels like forever ago. So I've been a PT for 6 years now, almost entirely in orthopedic and sports. And in the last few years, just as I mean, I've always been kind of interested in women's health because I am a woman and I wanted to be a mom someday. So that kind of makes sense. Yeah. But since being pregnant, which was now, my daughter's turning 2 in a couple weeks. So a couple of years ago. But that's when I really started to realize that like there isn't a ton of support or resources or general public knowledge about women being athletic through pregnancy and recovering through postpartum and beyond. So that's when I started to really get interested in it. So it's been kind of the progression of my career and really tied in closely with becoming a mom myself. That has really sparked an interest and passion in it. So yeah, Emma's almost 2, and I guess to talk about my journey with strength training, it's training in general.
Yeah, both.
Before Emma, I could get up at whatever time I wanted and do my workout, or I could go to work, come home and do my workout. It didn't matter. I had all the, whatever time I wasn't at work was free time, basically. So it was really flexible. And a lot of times I would use my lunch break. So I was really lucky and I had an hour lunch break. So I'd take like the first 10 minutes or so to wrap up, like really quickly wrap up notes that I couldn't forget from the morning. And then change, and I'd do a strength workout right in our PT gym in the clinic. And I'd be working out right alongside patients, which was kind of fun. So I'd do that for maybe 20 minutes, half hour, and then change back into my work clothes, get cleaned up, have my lunch, and then I'd be back to work. So all of that, my strength training was really never long, half hour, 3 days a week, maybe. And that was fine. That was sufficient. So I continued that through, I don't know, maybe like 5 or 6 months of pregnancy. And I would maybe drop down to like 2 times a week, because honestly, I needed more time to eat. So I was so hungry during pregnancy. So I'd have to finish with my patients, eat something, wait long enough so I wasn't full, and then work out, and then eat again and do my notes. So that got shortened to like 15 minutes of training. And then I was just like, you know, it's just not worth it right now. So
yeah,
food was
the
way more
workout
important.
of changing out of your clothes back into the other clothes. I was like, that's a strength training workout in itself at certain points of pregnancy. So,
oh my God, totally. Yeah.
Yeah, I say that like not kidding.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So 5 or 6 months, I kind of gave it up, and I kept running. Running changed dramatically by the end of pregnancy, and I was doing a run walk, and it was fine.
And so, Megan, just for reference, how often were you doing kind of your run walk, or we'll call it cardio, kind of during your pregnancy as you were balancing the strength that you shared?
Pretty much 5 to 6 days a week.
Okay. And what was your duration for that? Do you remember?
Depended on the day. Really, as long as I got out and did something, even if it was 10 minutes, 15 minutes of running or walking, that helped me to feel a lot better. It helped to kind of keep the swelling in my feet down. So there were days that I really didn't feel like running, but I knew that I had to. So by the end, I'd be out for like, on a good day, it would be maybe a half hour, but it was run for a minute and walk for 2. So I was doing something the whole time through, and it was frequency stayed pretty much the same. It was just the duration and obviously the pace that dropped.
Totally.
Yeah. So after Emma was born, I was really antsy to get back into it, of course. Typical athlete. and
PT. We're totally guilty. We know the rules, and sometimes that's also to our detriment, because we feel like, I know for myself, I've totally been that PT where I'm like, I know enough. I know how far I can push, and I'll push a little beyond that because I know more than the average person. So somehow I feel like those rules don't apply. No. They totally apply to my body too. I don't get a free pass. So, but I somehow have forgotten that in the past. I'm better about it now, but yeah, it's hard. We don't like being patient either.
No. So I wasn't super patient. I started running at 2 weeks postpartum. But yeah, like I know enough. I'm okay. I can listen to my body, and I was really okay. If I went out and I ran and I didn't feel good, then I stopped and I didn't run the next day. So yeah, I was like really early, and now we're recommending 12 weeks to get back to running. At that point, I think we were still in the 6 to 8 weeks. So I wasn't super early, but yeah, I knew I was getting out there early, and I accepted the fact that it may not work out, and there might be a time that I have to pull back and just stop for a while. And I was okay with that. And fortunately that didn't happen. But I was also at the same time, because I have that knowledge, I was really starting to be more consistent with core work and strength training. I started seeing a pelvic PT, I think about 2 months postpartum, and I saw her maybe 3 or 4 times, and everything was good. It was really just a checkup, maintenance kind of thing. So I had a really nice progression, but also recognized that I was ready at any time to say, okay, if I can't do it, I can't do it.
Yeah. And to be able to adjust or scale in a different way, depending on what your body was kind of telling you.
Yeah. So that's really been, now I've been back to normal training since like, I want to say like 6 or 8 months, probably 8 months, when I really started to feel like myself again as a runner. And I do core work almost every day of the week to some extent. Sometimes it's 5 minutes and sometimes it's 20. This spring, I've been doing a lot of just body weight and resistance training because my gym is closed. But yeah, everything more or less is now kind of back to normal as an athlete.
Megan, what was it like in the kind of that early phase postpartum, when you were, reorganizing your whole world of like taking on this new role as a mom for Emma and also wanting to, find time for you, for your own physical and mental health, of knowing that movement is not just helpful for you from a physical standpoint, but I would imagine too, just that emotional standpoint too, for mental health. How did you manage kind of that adjustment, and what did those sessions look like for you in those first early weeks?
So pretty early on, like as soon as I felt comfortable to move, so 5 days a week, really, where I was going out and doing some walks and going up and down the stairs a little bit. I had her on me, and like I would put on the pack carrier, and I'd stuff her in, and she would fall asleep, and we just move around the house. So there's an extra, I don't know, 8 or 9 pounds, whatever.
Totally.
plus the weight that I hadn't lost from pregnancy yet. So I had some weight on me, and we'd walk around the house, or I'd stop and do a couple squats, do some calf raises, kind of just like go around in circles and rocking her almost. So I was just incorporating her into movement because it felt good for me to move, and it was good. It was good for her because she was close to me. It's also good for her in developing her vestibular system to get that movement. So I knew just having that time was great. So when I wanted time by myself, that was when I went running or walking. And it could be just like at the end of pregnancy. If it's 10, 15 minutes, I don't care. I just need my time to go. So I would feed her, tell my husband, okay, I'm out. I'll be back in whatever time. You're on duty. And then I'd go. And that was just time for me. And she was usually sleeping at that point. So it wasn't much of a burden on him. He could be getting ready for work or whatever he needed to do. And that being able to coordinate with my husband was really, that was really essential and beneficial, because we had it, we had good communication of, okay, I need to do this at some point today. I need a half hour for me. It can be morning, it can be night, but I need that time. And he did the same too, especially when he was home on leave and we were together all the time, much like what people are doing now. So it's like, okay, we have time together. That's great. But we also need time apart. And we communicated that, and okay, you're on duty. I'll be back in a half hour, or I'm going to go play golf for a few hours. Okay. So that was just scheduling, and communications were really essential.
I think that you bring up a really good point, and I hear from a lot of my mamas, we put a lot of pressure, I think, as women on ourselves to do all the things and take care of all the things, and we're super capable and really good at that most of the time. And I think we forget to ask for help. I know that I'm terrible at asking for help, and this environment has required me to ask for more help from different people in my life recently, and it's been a good reminder and a good exercise that I'm A, allowed to do that, and B, that we all need to do that in order to support each other, and that it's not a burden, that, we all coexist with our unit, whether it's biological family or chosen family or however our organization is, but how important it is, to share those responsibilities. And like you said, Megan, how awesome for you to be able to communicate that to your husband, to help co-parent and go, hey, I need 30 minutes today. Where can that get squeezed in where you can be on duty with Emma and I can go be on duty for self-care, whatever that needed to look like for you, and vice versa, too, so that you both have your time to take care of you, so that you can also come back and show up, more fully for each other and for Emma. And figuring out whatever that schedule needs to look like, or flexibility to evolve depending on the day of the week or month as things change, sleep schedules change, all that stuff. But continuing to make that a priority. I find for my patients who have a similar situation to what you're describing, where they've got a point person that they can split time with in that way, it has made such a huge difference.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, of course, there are single moms, and that is a whole new level of challenge. And
Yep.
I mean, I don't know. I've never been in that situation, but I think, you know, if you don't have a partner who's living with you, then you've got to find somebody, a neighbor, even if it's just somebody who's like, you know, can be kind of on standby. Okay, I'm going to be working out, but I'm going to be in the basement. Can you just, I don't know, hang out for a little bit? And she's sleeping, but just in case. There were a few times that my mom came over, I think when Emma was like 3 weeks old or something, when Alex went on a work trip. And I was like, oh my God. But it was fine. My mom came over at one point. Actually, I think my whole family was away for part of that time that he was away. So I was like totally by myself. But then my mom came back, and she came over for a little bit, and she sat with Emma, and she loved it. You know, that's her granddaughter. So I had that initial feeling of like, oh, well, this is my baby. Why am I asking for help? I should be able to do this on my own. Yeah. And I can do it, but if I have people who want to hang out with my daughter and give me a little break so I can take care of myself and really, truly focus on me for a half hour, why wouldn't I take advantage of that? So yeah, I think that's a really difficult barrier for some people to get past, but to have somebody there who you can call and say, I need this time, come over sometime today so I can do this. It takes a village to raise a kid. Totally.
It 1,000% does. And I think too, that the more that we can practice asking for help, the easier it becomes. And I also try to remind myself how good it feels to be able to be the helper. And how much when we don't ask for help that we're also withholding that joy for someone else to get to step in and support us.
Yeah.
So trying to remember that and not, you know, discounting the fact that it's hard and awkward and it can feel like you're imposing on people. But I think that, you know, the more that we can offer that support to each other, and like you said, calling a neighbor, or I know some of my moms, you know, have other mom friends on their same street that, you know, might be possible. And so sometimes they'll tag team for each other. Like one of them will be like, all right, dropping my kids off at your house. I'll watch all the kiddos for 30 minutes. And then it's like a swap. So you can get creative in these different ways too. Because even with co-parent situations, you may not formally be a single parent, but I know some of my mamas, their co-partners or co-parents are, you know, usually traveling and whatnot quite a bit during the week. So there's chunks where they are virtually a single parent in that way, and needing to think of other creative ways too, to be able to do that self-care for them and exercise, while also doing mom life, because that's a full-time job all the time.
It is. Yeah. And I think another thing that has really helped me is that Emma sleeps really well, and she always has. So I can get up, especially in the summer. This is like no big deal at all. I'll get up at 5 and I'll run, and I get home at 7:30 if it's a long run, and she's just waking up. So I mean, that's kind of maybe a perfect world that my kid is always sleeping when I want her to be.
Just super helpful, and also normalizing to say that we know that's not always everyone's situation.
Yeah, we totally recognize that it's not common with how well she has slept, and but also that we sleep well, and we have slept well. That other than like, I don't know, the first few weeks where we had to wake up every couple hours, but we sleep well. So we feel refreshed and recovered. And that is not the norm, especially early on.
That can be really hard.
Yeah, really hard. And I think that even more so, you need to be able to rely on your team, your tribe, your community, whatever you want to call them, to support you, because you probably feel like totally disheveled and, not with it, but getting outside, even if you're just getting outside and sitting on your patio, enjoying quiet, I think that can go a long way. I'm, of course, an advocate for exercise during my alone time, but sometimes you just need to sit.
Agreed. And I think that's another super important point that, when we are going through these periods, and especially with all of the different changes that are happening with little ones adding to a family, and especially if we have multiples too, whether that's multiples in a pregnancy or just multiple children in a family, there's shifts and schedules and changes that are going to happen and evolve all the time. And so I think, figuring out a way to communicate that team effort and to loop everyone in on the front end is not just helpful for mom, but it's helpful for everyone, because the more that mom's tank stays more even keel in terms of energy and isn't like having to be plummeting more frequently, that helps everybody be more successful with all of their needs being met. And exercise, in my opinion, is one of those things that helps mamas keep that energy level tank more regular, and how when that starts to decline, how much our inability to feel physically comfortable in our body plays such a huge role in not being able to feel comfortable in our role as a mom too, because mom life is endurance marathon training every single day. And we need that strength training and exercise in our regular routine, not as if I have time, but it's figuring out a way to make that a regular piece of your schedule, and in a bite-sized piece that works for each individual person. For some people, that's 5 minutes. For some people, 30 minutes is not a big deal to squeeze in. And those minutes are okay to look different for different people. And it doesn't have to be 30 minutes or nothing. Megan, you've totally shared that. I mean, 10, 15, 20-minute sessions, you've mixed it up throughout pregnancy as well as postpartum, and your strength has not suffered from that at all. I mean, you're back to, hey, Megan, can you share with us how fast your recent mile of training was?
I ran 5:23 a couple weeks ago.
Yeah. And we are almost 2 years postpartum, and you've been doing a regular strength training routine that has not been hours and hours long on the regular.
No.
Yeah.
Even when my gym was open, I'd be in there for a half hour.
Yeah.
I don't have time to spend hours and hours in there.
No, and we don't need to, I think is also the point that you and I both want to share. 10-minute workouts are way more efficient than most people think.
Yeah.
And if we can dedicate 10-ish minutes a few times a week, that starts to add up to, in a lot of cases, could be almost an hour of strength training every week.
Right.
That's really great. We don't need to be in the gym for an hour to 2 hours in order to be gaining a benefit from that activity. And I would almost argue that the body actually does better with those smaller bursts, because then it actually has time to absorb the work that you did. It ends up being more quality work because we're not so exhausted, and that we're actually then able to do more quality reps, which build strength faster, versus thinking quantity, but the quality is kind of questionable. That's going to not result in the same benefit as that smaller bite-size chunks.
Right.
It's like, even nutrition wise, if you eat really, really good on one day, but then you eat junk the rest of the week, how helpful is that nutrition plan going to be, versus if we're kind of making it more digestible with healthy choices, smaller increments throughout a whole week? That's going to result in a bigger long-term benefit, and also more sustainable.
Yeah. And even looking at looking at bone health. So a higher intensity workout, strength training, is more beneficial than doing 100 reps of no weight. So, and this, I do a lot of body weight training now just because I have no access to it, but it's beneficial. It's still something. It's better than nothing, but heavy weight and a high quality, low rep, that's where you're going to make huge gains in your strength and your fitness and your bones. Especially as we get older, you really need to put in more and more and more focused effort into building the bones. Or for mamas who are breastfeeding, where your baby is just pulling that calcium out of you, you got to put in a lot more work to keep up. So just add one more thing of challenges that moms have, but short bursts, like you were saying, those short, high intensity, better quality, you're probably going to get more out of it. And it's a lot 100%. Shorter. You're not spending hours.
Exactly. I mean, even myself, I mean, I've gone through phases and, of my own workouts and training for different events and also just working out for my own enjoyment. And I find that even my own body now, I do much better when I have smaller workouts. It's more higher quality. My body's not as exhausted and I recover better too, which then allows me to show up better for the next workout, whether that's the next day or, 2 days later. I'm kind of usually doing some type of movement similar to you, but, I kind of alternate my intensities. So almost every other day is a little bit higher of an intensity, whether that's a cardio workout or a strength training workout. And then that's kind of paired with a lower intensity, a walk or a hike or a yoga or something to kind of balance out the other, more challenging work that my body did the day before. And again, keeping it within, on a longer day right now for my workouts, I'm at about 45 minutes. Most of the time I'm staying somewhere between 25 to 35 because I also have other things too. And so in order to fit it in, that's more manageable. And I would argue that my fitness is actually almost better with that type of schedule versus when I used to try to push an hour and 15, hour and a half some days. And more does not always mean better.
Right.
Yeah.
Yep. That's a hard lesson to learn, I think. Especially for cardio junkies too.
And I've totally recovered cardio junkie. I fully admit. Yeah.
I still am, but I just, I love to run and I love to put in the miles and build up my long run and do longer workouts. And that feels great. I love how I feel during those, but there are definite benefits. Like, couple weeks ago, I did a mile virtual race and then I did 4 200s after. And it was like, boom, 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 done, workout. So short. And I'm like, oh, well, okay, what do I do now? I would much rather do a long workout, a long interval, or just a long run. But they both have their place. And so the same with strength training. Yeah, you can do a long session and maybe once in a while you do that and that's good. And that's with running. I do my long run once a week. So once a week I'm out for 2 hours, up to 2 hours. Once a week.
Yep.
The rest are like 45 minutes.
Yeah.
So same idea with strength training. You don't always have to do these really long workouts, and you shouldn't always do the long workouts because you need to stress your body in different ways. So
totally.
Yeah.
The variety is so important. In addition to variety for the activity, also variety for the duration of our workouts. Just so that our body is continuously being challenged in different ways so that we're not wearing and tearing the system down in all of those repetitive motions, but that we're adding variety and challenge to the system that is helpful for training for life, because life is all about variety too. And especially being a mom, picking up, carrying, loading, moving things all the time, that all, in my opinion, can be a strength workout too. So in those cases where I have a lot of my patients that say, like, I don't have time, I go, well, how often are you trekking stuff through the house? Can you trek that big bag of supplies or gear or whatever it is? And, can we make that a strength training workout for you? Can you make a few more trips than you normally would and make it like a farmer carry where normally I'd give you dumbbells, but let's just have you carry this big bag of gear? Yeah. Can you do 10 squats before you load it into the car? Can you, mixing it up through the day too, where it doesn't have to be a formal set of 10 minutes or 20 minutes, but can you get creative with thinking about other ways that you're already doing stuff in the day? And can we re-engineer it? Can you take those couple extra bags of gear when you get home, and can you make yourself go up and down the stairs with them a few more trips than you would normally do for efficiency's sake? But let's call it your workout for
right.
10 minutes.
Right.
And that can be also another really quick and easy way to get some of this work in without having to find additional time in your schedule.
Right. Yeah. So, and I think too, for parents, you're trucking things all around the house all the time and lifting up kids. So when you go to pick your kid up from the floor, get down into a really deep squat, hang out there for 10 seconds, and then pick up your kid and explode up. Then, okay, there you got a power squat and you're up.
Yep.
And then do it again. And so instead of just like being sloppy about like pulling your kid up or what, reaching out, just make it more intentional. And you can, oh my gosh, I can't even tell you how many times I squat and deadlift throughout the day.
Right.
It's crazy.
Just doing mom things.
Yeah. And if you 100%. Just pay attention to that when you are putting laundry in a basket, make a couple more trips. So there. I think when, like as you go through the developmental stages of infant to baby to toddler, you can also incorporate your kid into your workouts too. So we think about like, so Emma's like 25 pounds now, and I'll lay on my back and she wants to be an airplane. So I hold her up and we move around and then we crash. And that's my rest. Then we go up and we do it around or just straight up bench press my child. She's fine. She loves it. And I haven't dropped her yet, so that's okay. Or like doing tummy time. Yeah, like put your kid on the floor and on a nice little blanket. And this is Emma and I did this for a long time. She would just lay down. Sometimes I'd flip her onto her back, but a lot of times she was on her stomach and reaching for something. And I'm doing stuff in quadruped on my hands and knees and just some stretching like a cat-cow or doing some fire hydrants and hip work. And like that really basic foundational core and movement training that we do. And then she's right there and she's getting her own workout. So there's a time and a place for having your own time and like clearing your head and just being you. And if you're really strapped for time, incorporate your kid into it because chances are they will love it. They're spending time with you and they're getting some benefit from it, whether that's tummy time or vestibular training or learning some new motor skill. When they're learning to crawl, you can crawl right alongside them.
Also, yes.
So find ways to incorporate your kid into it. I mean, I have a whole list of ideas some that I've done with Emma and some that I've thought of since that time. Like, oh, that would have been a good one to try. But even like when they're learning to walk and you have to hold their hands up. So instead of like leaning over awkwardly to the side, squat. So now you're holding your squat, you're walking a little bit with them. Then they fall. Okay, you squat a little deeper, pick them up. You squat and you move. So much better for you because you're not doing some weird thing with your back. And your legs are getting a workout. And your baby is learning to walk. So how perfect is that?
100%. There's so many great things about moving with our little ones, where I think too, we often don't realize how much of a benefit it is for them to see us doing that. And the repetition of seeing us move and exercise, and how much they're imprinting a lot of what we do. And so getting to see parents moving also then starts to normalize that for them as they get older, and exercise becomes a regular part of their routine. And that's such a valuable skill and kind of teaching moment too, as we're developing. And, you know, Megan, I think, like, to your point about watching their developmental movement milestones, and how really in the PT world, a lot of times when we're reteaching people or moving through rehab, we bring it back to what are the developmental milestones of children, and how do we break that down to then build a body back up to vertical. And so watching your little ones from that standpoint, and watching them figure out how to move, and kind of copying some of that with you, you're going to have a really great body weight workout in and of itself. Little kids are super strong, and I don't think we give them enough credit for that. They're running around on the playground, they're crawling. I mean, they're army crawling all over the place during certain phases. They're pulling themselves up, you know, onto couches and furniture and whatnot when they're starting to learn how to walk. Like, you know, actual crawling is no joke. If we did that for 5 minutes, it's exhausting.
It is.
So starting to kind of play into some of these things with them, as well as using your little one like a weight, like a kettlebell. You got a built-in 10-pounder, 15-pounder, 25-pounder. I mean, it grows with you, which is nice and convenient. So use that with them, and for you to be able to do some weighted squats. Like you were saying, Megan, you had, you know, Emma in the front pack, but even as they get older, have them be a monkey on you and like do some squats, do some lunges, do some other movement that for them, they think it's so hilarious and fun because you're carrying them and moving around in all these ways. But then you're also getting a workout in another creative way around normal life. And I think that can be another fun way too, to play around with each other and to make it fun, but also be able to continue to maintain that strength in our system that we need for all the things.
Yeah. Yeah. I think probably a lot of moms and dads too. I think they just, and me too, just don't realize how much strength training is already present in our lives. And if you're doing a workout and your kid comes tearing through the room and disrupting you, okay, I get that it's frustrating, but involve them in it. Okay, I'm going to do this, and then you're going to try it if they're old enough to do it. Oh, okay, you fell down, you scraped your knee, you need a hug. Okay, I'm going to do my workout while I'm giving you a hug. Here we go. And then in 3 seconds, they're laughing and they're fine.
Yep.
So I think there's a lot that is already there, and it just takes a change in mindset and the realization that it doesn't have to be complicated, and it doesn't have to be challenging and time consuming. It's already there. So we've just got to tweak some things, and you've got your workout.
100%. I think too, even thinking of like, depending on how old your children are too, like, you know, as they start to become more active, also incorporating them and making it a game. I know some of my patients will even like write down different exercises on like flashcards, and they'll have to pull flashcards and set them out on the sidewalk, and then they all do 10 of each one, and then they reshuffle the cards and they lay them out again, and they do the whole thing. So all the kids get to feel like they got to pick a card, they get to do their squats, they get to do their plank, they get to, you know, do a hopscotch. And some of my patients have gotten really creative with different ways to incorporate their kiddos, but also for them to be able to squeeze in a workout too. So everybody wins. And it can look a lot of different ways. It doesn't have to be, I must go to the gym to do my workout. And investing in just a few resistance bands, a few light dumbbells and whatnot, and using stairs that lead up to your front door, or a set of stairs that's already in your house or maybe in your backyard, or even just purchasing a box or a crate or something like that to do some work on, like that is plenty in order to be able to get creative.
Or a stroller.
And yeah, also strollers are great.
Yeah.
Yeah. So being able to throw a couple of resistance bands in your stroller, and I'll sometimes have my patients, I'm like, all right, every time you turn the block, grab your band, put it around your legs and do 10 squats right there, and then take it off and then keep going to the next block.
Yeah.
Or even face front with the stroller, do the 10 squats with, your little one right there, and you can make it a little game with them and kind of pop out some side to side or whatever it is to make it fun for them. And then, you go another, half mile or whatever it is, to the next stop. But yeah, just re-engineering how we think about strength training, I think, is probably the most helpful piece that Megan and I are trying to kind of share here today. It does not need to look like, only in a gym setting.
Yeah. Yeah. And you have those like 10-minute workouts on your YouTube page. So here's a little plug for Christine.
Thanks, Megan.
So there's 10 minutes right there. Really easy. I do my core work while my husband is reading Emma stories. So I'm in there with them. So we're all having our family time, and it's 10, 15 minutes of story time, and I'm doing my core work. And then we switch, and I have my time with her. So with your 10-minute routine, if you do those enough and you get the feel for what the exercises are, and you don't have to be watching the video, then you can do that while maybe your kid is a slow eater, and start them 10 minutes early. And I don't know what kids are slow eaters, but like they'll just shuffle it in their face.
I'm sure there's some.
But yeah, maybe start them 10 minutes early. Okay, you're on the floor or going up and down the stairs, whatever. So the time is there. Everyone has the same 24 hours, and you're already doing a lot of this stuff in your day.
Yeah.
So don't think of it as, we've said this a few times already, like you don't need to spend hours and hours, and you don't need to spend 20 minutes at one time. If you have 3 minutes, do 3 minutes. And then later you've got 5. Okay, do 5. So you just find the spot, and some is better than none.
100%. Yeah. I think removing the idea that X amount of minutes equates like good or bad. And I don't even like to really use those words, because I don't believe in good or bad movement, because movement in general, whatever it is helpful. It's more of how are we doing it, and the quality of that movement that I say is either more efficient or less efficient is kind of how I like to define it. But yeah, knowing that whatever amount of movement that you can incorporate into your day, and more focusing on the quality of it and how you can get creative with your family in terms of movement, consider that more the goal, instead of it needs to be X minutes in this one way or it doesn't count. And I think that would help a lot of people be able to maybe be more curious about how can I get creative? And that almost makes it like this fun game instead of this like, oh, I have to do it kind of a thing.
Totally.
And seeing how your whole family can kind of get creative together, have them make up an exercise. Like maybe you demonstrate one and then ask your kiddo to like make up an exercise and see what they do and try it. Maybe it ends up being a cool exercise that you like. Maybe it's a silly one. But either way, you'll be connecting, you'll be moving, you'll be having fun together, and that's a win.
Yeah. Play Twister with your kids. There's a workout. Oh my gosh.
Dude, totally.
Such a workout.
Good core work, rotation, resistant, all the things.
Oh,
yeah. 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Kids are creative. Follow their lead.
Totally. Yeah. So, well, Megan, this was awesome. Thanks so much for sharing your journey, and kind of also helping to share just what you found to be helpful, and also confirming that what we've been saying, it doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be a long workout in order to be effective, or to, feel mama strong for all the things. More of those little bite-sized pieces, and using time in your day that you're already moving, lifting, carrying, all the things, to add a few more squats there, add a few more lunges there. Use that time with your kiddos to play, and use that play as strength training. because that playtime has some great opportunities for that to happen when we can kind of, I think, shift our perspective to look at that time from that angle.
Yeah, totally.
Cool.
Awesome. Thanks so much for having me.
Of course. This was awesome.
Yeah.
And Megan, can you share? Megan also just started a really awesome running group for ladies. Can you share what you've got going on and how people can find you too for that group? And we'll link this down below also for reference.
Yeah. So I have a private Facebook group. It's called Immersion Running. My practice is Immersion PT. And it's just for female runners. So knowing that women have unique challenges and opportunities, I want to provide that space and that resource to help you in whatever phase you are. If you're coming off injuries or have had a string of injuries, pregnancy, postpartum, older, younger, fast, slow, I don't care. As long as you're female or identifying as female, then you are welcome in my group. So yeah, we'll link it below. I'm really excited about it.
Awesome. It's awesome. I also just recently joined. It's a great group of ladies. And again, just a community of, individuals that identify as female runners and bringing people together to share ideas, both mother runner side as well as non-mother runner side, for all different, running preferences, short distance, long distance, races, just for fun, all the things. So it's awesome.
And you've got your mama group too. So we can link that too.
I do. We'll link that below too. So yes, I have a Facebook group that's also available for people to join if you are a mother runner or a soon to be mother runner. It is called Mama Runs Wild, and I share a lot of information in there about kind of return to running progressions and exercise and strength training and stuff for runners specifically, and especially considering the unique needs of women through pregnancy and postpartum, just because of all of the body changes that are going on, both for the obvious reasons, but also hormonally through all of those different developmental stages. And also speaking to pelvic floor health and how that is also incorporated into a lot of the education that I do, being a women's health and pelvic health PT, as well as a sports and orthopedic PT. So anyone is welcome to join that as well. Both of our groups are free and stuff like that. So feel free to join us, and we'll link that information below. And the 10-minute kind of circuits that Megan was mentioning are within the Mama Runs Wild group. So if anyone is interested in accessing those, you'll find them inside the group. So just follow that link when we drop it below.
Awesome.
Cool. Well, again, this was awesome. I look forward to the next one. As always, we'll pick another topic and jump on, but I thought this was a really great one that we decided to do this week, because I know that you and I both get a lot of questions about this, and helpful to share it out to the masses.
Yeah, I love it.
Awesome. Thanks so much for your time. Thank you all for joining. And we look forward to catching you guys on the next episode of Megan and Chris. Bye, lady. Have a good one.
See ya.